Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm so pleased to be joined by Brett Goldstein, a two-time Emmy Award winner and the co-creator, a writer, and now the co-star of the Apple TV Plus comedy series Shrinking. Brett, this is so great. When it was revealed you were going to be on Shrinking, for some reason I could not figure out who you were going to play. I was like maybe a patient of some sort because obviously it's set around therapy, but you're playing Lewis, the man who was responsible for the death of Jimmy's wife Tia in a drunk driving accident. A couple of questions. I was like, when did you guys know you wanted to introduce that character? And then when did you decide you wanted to play said character, I guess?
Uh, that is hello, nice to see you. Uh, Thanks for the intro. The it was I think it was always the plan. We always knew that season two was about forgiveness, and it was like that thing of I love writing a season two. Season two is the best because you if it works, if you're lucky enough to do a season two is more fun because you've built the world, you now know how the actors work, you know the characters, and now you can play around with it. And I think taking the concept of forgiveness, which is what it was always going to be, season two was about forgiveness. It was like, what's the hardest version of that? What's the most challenge for this world we've created and for these characters that we love? What is the meatiest, most difficult version of that? And it is the drunk driver responsible for all this. And creating something that I hope like as an audience, it's not simple. It's not like as in if Jimmy says I will never forgive this man, I don't think we blame Jimmy for that. You know what I mean? I think we go, yeah, fair enough. So it isn't a kind of done deal. And then in terms of me playing the part, I wasn't going to play the part. It wasn't written. We didn't write it for me, but it was actually Jason Segel who it was he we were thinking about casting. We'd written it, and then Jason Segel called me and Bill Lawrence into his trailer, and he said Brett should be doing this. Why isn't Brett doing this? And Bill was like, I don't know, and I was like, I don't know, and he said, think about it overnight. And then the next morning, Bill sent me a very, very nice message where he was basically like, I don't see it necessarily, but I know I believe in you. If you think you can do this, then I will back you and we'll figure it out. And but he also said like, you know, the entire season, you know, sort of hangs on this character. So if you fuck this up, you've ruined Shrinking. Okay, cool, cool, cool. No pressure.
Well, so like very true. Like obviously, I think people though maybe most familiar with you, obviously from like for playing Roy Kent. It seems like it's a huge departure from that character. Obviously, it's definitely different. A lot of different from other stuff I've seen you in as well. So
Mm.
obviously, like I don't know, like how like it's not like as an actor, how exciting is that kind of challenge to play someone like you've never kind of played before at all?
It's really exciting and it's really scary, and that is why you should do it. I think always. You know what I mean? I was like really scared because it was a lot of pressure, and also I haven't done this sort of part before, so it's like, can I? And but I also am aware of you can get comfortable doing one thing, and I also had to remember season one of Ted Lasso. I was really scared of playing Roy Kent. Like I didn't know if I was doing it right. You know what I mean? You take a while to find the thing, but then you get comfortable. I'm comfortable playing Roy Kent. I could do it very easily now within reason. So then this new character, it's like that feeling of being scared again is good, I think.
Yeah. You so in the latest episode that one is airing this week as we're recording, we get
Right.
more backstory into Lewis and like the accident and stuff. And I found that like you were saying before, like if Lewis is just like a bad dude or a drunk driver or whatever, but the way it's presented in the show where it's a guy who's out with his fiance or his girlfriend has a couple of drinks and drives home, very relatable I think situation whatever,
Relatable.
without judgment for people, right? Like if you're going out to dinner, you're gonna have a couple of drinks and you come home. So I guess like again, that's really I thought that was like really well done from a writing perspective and from you got like a creative perspective. So I guess like how like why was that so important to show that making that this kind of obviously almost like maybe unforgivable mistake or whatever, but like how do you like why was that the right way into that, you know?
That was a discussion we had as in you know how because he's always a drunk driver. So he was killed in a drunk driving accident, and there was a version we discussed where it was like he had a serious drink problem, and but then actually, and it was I think Bill that leaned more into this, and I think and I agree, he did brilliant. Is that it was like he's technically over the limit, and he had one more drink, and it was just round the corner, and it was like I can't be bothered to go and pick up my car in the morning, like. I believe anyone watching this has probably been in that scenario or near that scenario. And so it's much more like relatable and also like, fuck, this, it makes, I think it makes it again, it makes it harder on the audience because you're not, it's about how we treat people. And I think the fact that they call him drunk driver and Alice says to him, because you're a fucking drunk. And it's like he isn't really like it's nicer if that's the case. It makes it easier
Right.
to other, like I can judge you because you're this and you're bad and you're this. But if the reality is it was a terrible mistake, terrible, catastrophic, destroyed everything. But it was something that most people could have done.
Hmm.
And uh and I think that just makes it all I think all the stuff we write is always about it's very difficult to we live in a world where everyone's very judgmental and you want people to be one thing and they're not. And I guess that's it. You go drunk driver, here's this term, and then it's a guy, he had a fiance, definitely did a bad thing, but like I also tend to believe within reason. I think most people don't mean to hurt. Like, I can't imagine anyone kills someone in a car accident and thinks, good,
Right.
I meant to do that.
Right.
Like, it's a terrible tragedy for, anyway.
And so before we see, so before the accident, obviously we see like Lewis out with his fiance having a nice time. So I don't know how you guys shoot. I'm assuming nothing is shot in order, but like obviously Lewis, we met in the early parts of the season. You're playing him very like post accident, like very traumatized and closed off. So now we get to see him in this episode, like the real version of this
Yeah,
character. And I guess like how did you kind of like? And then also I thought so. I just think you're doing a great job as an actor because I'm like the way
thank
you
you.
kind of like level it back up to that throughout the season as we're getting back to like as
Mm,
Lewis has been and like Alice has kind of like warmed up to him and whatever. So we're
yeah.
seeing that kind of Lewis again. But to go back to the square one, yeah, I guess like how did you kind of like calibrate that, I guess, as an actor and like find like the Lewis that he is versus the Lewis that he's slowly becoming again, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, I don't know. Well, it's all like, Bill had always said to me, like, it's like you if this happened. Like, it's a version of you. The way I saw it in the first half before this episode is, this guy's like an open wound. He's like he's fucked. He's fucked, and he is just barely existing because there's a tiny shred within him that is holding on to some hope of. I don't think he thinks he deserves redemption, but even I think it's a line that comes up in a later series, the act of revelation, to be able to at least confess, to be heard saying, I acknowledge that I did this and I'm sorry. Um and then this stuff where you see him in the past, essentially it was like it's a romantic comedy. For the first 5 minutes of the episode, it's a rom-com. It's him and this girl, and it's like, so you're just and it was amazing. Meredith, I'd never met her before and we had I don't know 2 days to shoot all this stuff and be in love and and she it was her first time back to work after having a baby and she had the baby like we had no time to prep or she was just fucking brilliant and it was like we said hello very briefly and then suddenly here we are moving in together and in love and luckily Bill had worked with her before and he was like she's the perfect person for this and he was right because she was just so playful and so fun and then you're just finding it with her in that moment.
Right.
Being very sincere about acting here. I'm sorry, it's embarrassing.
No, no, I really love it. I don't know. I think you're just like really great. And Meredith is so good. I was like going to wonder how you guys like you're just I think you're also as an actor, you generate chemistry with people very naturally, I think, is you know, you
Well,
as a
I think she's a. I like her. She's a yes-ander.
Okay.
and so am I. So I think that's why, partly why Bill really was sure about her, and partly why I think it works is that
Right.
we're both just happy to play with each other, but with no, there was no rehearsal, nothing, you know.
So this episode, the end of this episode, which obviously is on now, and people can watch. Jimmy Jason Steele comes to like talk
Yeah,
to Lewis, and I again like I just am like so I've watched this scene many times. I think you're so incredible in this scene, and it's really well written scene. And Jason's so great because he just like I've never seen him look like that. He's like so mad but so heartbroken, and you're so great. And the way Lewis is so excited maybe to get this like
yeah,
catharsis or whatever he's looking for, and have it just snuffed out. Uh,
yeah.
Again, like your face just goes dead. It's so great. How do you approach a scene like that? Like, do you do a lot of like words? Like, I don't know. How do you do that basically?
Well, that's Jay. That's a lot of. Uh, sorry if you can hear my
No, it's fine.
machine going. Dee, 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 dee. The that's a lot of that's Jason. Jason is very, very uh he's a very I really mean this, he's a very generous actor, and he's very like he so in that scene, how do you do it? You just like you don't prepare is how you do it, I think.
Hmm.
Is like the whole point of that scene is on paper he's getting what he wants. And Jimmy's saying what he wants to hear, but you've seen it. It isn't real. It doesn't come from and that was always the idea of like we're heading towards this apology and then this apology this forgiveness, and then it comes and it isn't real.
Right.
And uh Jason did there were things he did quite like because you do it loads of times, and I don't know. It's such a mad thing. You just sort of have to forget it every. I don't know. It's like I think everyone's not well in the head. You know what I mean? You do it and then you have to forget it, and so you have to receive the information for the first time every time, whatever the fuck. But there was a take later on where he said different things when it was on me
Hmm.
to kind of, I think, get a different reaction because I wasn't expecting what he said, and it wasn't what was we didn't use that dialogue, but it was a very helpful, it was a very kind thing to do, really, because it means I reacted completely real because
Right.
I hadn't heard this thing that he just said. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. It's
Yeah, it was
it
very
works
cool.
so well. It's like incredible scene. And I want like another thing. Does Miss Congeniality hold up? Obviously.
Surely, surely, no,
Were there
surely.
other options for which Sandra Bullock movie would be up there?
There was a long lot of chat about what the film was going to be, and I think there was longer. I think there was more. I think in the original edit, but it was so long that episode. I think there was a much longer chat about the importance of miscongeniality that I think got trimmed down just because we've got a story to tell. We can't
Yeah,
just
maybe if they do outtakes or something at the end of the season,
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
they
yeah,
can
yeah.
send it that.
Maybe
So I mean,
do that.
like, it's like you are really funny. Obviously, I think people know that, and the show is really funny. But you're playing such a
I am
you're
not
part of
funny.
this part is like serious. Like you're a serious. You are in funny
Yeah,
situations though at times, right? With like Michael Yuri, obviously, is like
yeah.
very.
Amazing, yeah.
I guess like yeah, like how did like yeah, I guess like do you think this? I was thinking this like do you think? And I think you won 2 Emmys, so obviously you know what you're doing. Do you think this part has made you a better actor? I guess like going
Yeah,
forward.
I think every part makes you a better actor because you get more experience. You get to do it more and learn. Like this was a different uh thing. You know what else was a challenge about this part? But look, I did this film, All of You, which I filmed before this. I think that was incredibly useful. I think I learned a lot doing that. And that was again, I think it's always the people you work with. I worked with Imogen Poots, and she was so wonderful and so generous, and we were so it's always about, it sounds so shit, but it is about like making a safe space that you can be vulnerable, do all this stuff that's embarrassing without feeling like an idiot because you're safe with each other. And like I have with Jason, like I had with Lukita. And I think with this job, what was different, compared to say All of You, the film, uh, with this job, because I'm also a writer producer on it, I don't have the luxury of being immersed in it all day for weeks because I also have to be on set for other scenes or be in the writer's room or you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
there's shit I have to do. I can't spend all day being sad Lewis. But if we're filming a scene in the morning and then in the afternoon I have a Lewis scene, I've only really got an hour or less to kind of get into the headspace. So I had to find a way of making that quicker
Hmm.
to make
Yeah.
it work because
And
I couldn't be like, leave me alone, I need time. I didn't have that.
right. And I guess in terms of the comedy, you also I think you wrote the sixth episode, which I thought is hilarious also. So you get at least the outlet of being very funny
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
show
yeah,
as
yeah.
well. I don't want people to think if they're like, oh man, it's a very funny show. There's a lot of jokes. So it's just
Funny.
like, but Brett Goldstein, I absolutely love this performance. You play Lewis on Shrinking. You can watch this episode now and the whole season as it rolls out through Christmas, I think is the finale, which is
Yeah,
fantastic as well. And you have a lot of great stuff in that episode too. So
yeah, big
look out for
ones.
that. And thank you again, Brett, for doing this.
What a pleasure. I really appreciate you. You've been very thoughtful and I hope I haven't been boring. So thank you.
No, not at all. This is great. Thank you.